Good morning and welcome, everybody. My name is Kaylee Mitchell with the Ohio Pork Council. At Ohio Pork, I have the honor of working with and on behalf of Ohio's pig farmers, like the one we'll be visiting very shortly, to help them in their mission to provide safe, affordable, and nutritious pork products while also taking great care of the pigs, people, and planet while doing so. We are so glad that you have joined us today for a live virtual tour of a pig farm with Farmer Veronica, where she will share how she cares for her pigs every day while also working to protect the environment. Before we go out on the farm, I would like to take care of a few housekeeping items so you'll know how to best interact with us today. We want to make this trip as engaging as interactive as possible and encourage you to submit your questions to ask our farmer. If you're joining via Zoom, we invite you to submit your questions to us at any time throughout the trip by clicking the Q&A button found at the bottom of your Zoom window. We will try to have our farmer answer as many questions as possible during today's event. We're also live streaming this trip to YouTube, and if you happen to be watching us there, please note that the live chat function has been turned off to allow the stream um, to play on your school devices without restrictions. So you can just sit back and enjoy the program. But if you're on YouTube and would like to submit some questions for our farmer, please feel free to go back to the registration email that you received and join us via Zoom to ask those questions. With all of that being said, let's go ahead and introduce our farmer and get this trip started. This morning, we have the pleasure of connecting live with Farmer Veronica from a pig farm here in Ohio. We look forward to learning about all the ways that Farmer Veronica and her team care for their pigs. Awesome. Good morning, Farmer Veronica. Do you want to start us off by telling us just a little bit about yourself, the farm that you work at, and what you do there?
Yeah, so as Kaylee mentioned, my name is Veronica. I am originally from Chicago, so full-blown city kid at heart. My parents never saw me working in a pig farm, but I got introduced to it through in high school. Got some 4-H pigs, kind of had my first experience there. Uh, really loved it, followed it throughout college. So I went to Michigan State University. I got my bachelor's in animal science, and then I followed through and what got my master's in swine nutrition. So I'm currently at a nursery pig farm. So this is probably I would say our smaller baby-ish pigs, but not really little baby pigs. They had just left their mom. So they're here with us for a little bit, and then they'll continue through the cycle, which we'll talk about throughout the rest of this program.
Awesome, Farmer Veronica. Let's just go ahead and kick things right off by talking about the life cycle if you want to share some info there.
Yeah, so where we start is a sow farm, and a sow is a female pig who's given birth, or what we call to a litter. So she has a litter of pigs, and they'll stay with their mom and nurse for about 21-ish days. Weaning age can vary at some farms, so it can be anywhere from 19 to 21 days. And then after that, um, the little babies are then moved off of mom and they come to us. So let me show you where we are. So we are in an actual nursery. We'll see that these guys, I will say they came to us about a week ago. And so they have been away from mom for about a full week. And they are about 15 pounds, I would say, right now. Um, so they'll stay here and grow, and they will be with us for 42 days. And after they are here with us, they then move to another site. So pig farming has quite a bit of movement. They're not all at one location all the time. They move and vary and throughout the different production stages. So this is all pigs these size.
Awesome, Farmer Veronica. It was great to learn a little bit about the life cycle of the pigs that you have on your farm. Do you want to go ahead and tell us about some of the technology that you guys use on the farm?
Yeah. So um, Right now we're in winter, so we've kind of what I would say we've winterized our barn. So you can see back here is a heater, and we'll have the heaters. There's two of them, two per room, and they basically just blow in warm air to keep these guys at a nice temperature of about 82 degrees. As they grow, we do lessen that temperature. We call it a temperature curve. And so we reduce the heat in the room as they grow because they don't need as much heat as they grow up. And then the other thing we have that kind of helps circulate air is these things called an inlet. It's this little yellow rectangle, and that kind of lets in some air as well as out any of that air. So it just kind of keeps the ventilation going pretty well out here to make sure we have good air quality for our pigs. And that's kind of the main components of the winter time. So to start the opposite of that, we have our fans. So we have about 4, 5 fans within the room, and they are at varying sizes. So you can see this little one, and then we have this bigger one. And as the temperature climbs, you'll start opening up the bigger ones and more of them to kind of help regulate that air. Those inlets that I showed you earlier, same thing. They let that cool air in and kind of help keep the temperature regulated. That's kind of, it is what I would call technology, but it's not what you really think of in terms of technology. I would say when you think technology, we've got these probes in the room, and these probes will actually take the temperature continuously throughout the entire room, and it is all then sent to like a computer base, and that dictates then when the fans kick on, when those inlets open, and keep everything super more regulated through technology.
Awesome, Farmer Veronica. Is there any kind of technology or computer systems, things like that, that you utilize on the farm that also would connect to your phone or anything of that sort?
Yep. So we have a app on our phone that tells us what the current temperature is at every barn. It tells us how much water they're drinking, and it also will record how much feed we have on the site. So it's very similar. So it's the temperature is read through those probes. So the same system in that sense. And then the water gets it gets calculated through. So as they drink, it goes up and it follows all of these lines. And in the main office has little meters, and it's reading how many gallons of water is continued to flow throughout the barn per day. And then we get that information through our phones.
Awesome, Farmer Veronica. You mentioned the feed and water. Let's just go ahead and dive in and talk about, what kind of diet are these pigs on, where are they getting their food and their water sources from, and how often do they have access to those things?
Yep. So feed wise, we have a corn soy diet. So this, you can see how finely ground up this is. And you can see these flecks of corn pretty well at this stage. And this is really their main diet. It's pretty soft, it's pretty powdery, but still has some good grit, almost like sand. This is accessed all day. So ad libitum is a term used, and it just means all day as much as they wish. And these are their feeders. So their food is just constantly available, constantly constantly there whenever they're ready. As for their water, same thing. So they are allowed to have water all the time, every day, no matter when. It is always available. And they have these little drinking cups, and this little water comes out of that spout. So they push their nose on it, and they learn that really quick. Only a couple days. When they get here, they figure that out really fast. So being on a corn soy diet, our farm is really cool in the sense that we actually have the fields where we grow our food. And so we take all of the corn and soy and we send it to our feed mill where it then gets ground up and formulated and it makes this actual feed. So we stay within company. It's a very sustainable method of agriculture to kind of create and grow the food that you're then using to feed your pigs.
Awesome. Kind of going off of that, Farmer Veronica, we had a question submitted from one of our classes that's joining us today, and they would like to know how you handle the pig waste material on the farm.
Yeah. So as you can see this flooring, it's got little holes in it. And so anytime they go to the bathroom, it just falls straight into that floor. And every once in a while, it can depend, it varies how much, these animals are excreting. But somebody through the company will come with a truck and a tankard and they pump what we call our pits. So below this, we have about an 8-foot pit. And as it gets filled up with manure and urine, we let the waste management team know and they come outside. It's all done through the outside for a biosecurity reason. And they suck up all of the manure and urine, and then they'll take that and spread it on the fields where we will grow the food for them. So it's their own fertilizer.
That is fantastic, Farmer Veronica. And while you were talking, you mentioned a word, biosecurity, and that word plays a really big role in pig farming. Do you want to talk to us about what that means?
Yep. So biosecurity is, I would say, pig farming's number one aspect that we think about. Pigs can get sick pretty easily. They're susceptible to a lot of things just through the environment, which is why we've transitioned to indoor hog farming. So the definition of biosecurity would be trying to eliminate the risk and spread of diseases from outside, from people, from feed to the pigs. So we're trying to keep them as healthy and safe as possible. Part of my job in the morning is I have to shower in to get into the barn, and that is to help prevent any risk of disease spreading. So you guys can see right now that little shower image. It's just a quick shower through and you leave your dirty clothes on one side. You take your shower and then you go through the other side, which is then called our clean side. And once you're, showered and clean, you can head out to the barn. We keep boots on a separate side, so it's a line of separation. And we try to reduce as much transferring from, very front of the door all the way out to these guys.
Awesome, from Veronica. We had another question submitted by one of our classes that's joining us today, and they would like you to talk a little bit about the different jobs or careers that are available in pig farming.
Yeah, so the really cool thing about pig farming is there's many different jobs that you probably wouldn't think about that are available. So if you like pigs and animals, there's plenty of opportunity to work with the actual live pigs. You can come to the barns, work as a swine specialist or technician, and that is you actually being responsible for taking care of pigs. There is kind of further up, if you still want to be involved with pigs, there's a lot of management of transportation. So pigs in our system are hauled on trucks and trailers. So that's another job that you could do if you want to work with the live animal. And sometimes if you like more of a hands-on mechanic kind of aspect, we have maintenance. So people that come in and they'll fix the gates and rods, they come and they'll fix, any of our line issues, if a feeder breaks, stuff like that. And while it's not every day working with pigs, you're still in a pig barn, you still get the satisfaction of working around pigs. If you are the type of person that you're like, I just want to be a part of something that helps feed the world, but I don't want to be with pigs every day, there's job opportunities for there as well. You can be an account specialist, like if you're into finances. There's the feed mill. So if you're into the environmental agriculture side, you can make the feed for them. There's, if you like the people side of pigs, there's human resources. Jobs are pretty much endless when it comes to the swine industry.
Awesome. Thank you, Farmer Veronica. We had another question here from one of our classes, and they would like to know if your team works with a veterinarian to ensure that your pigs are healthy.
Yes, so that is something really important to us. Um, we get our veterinarian in every, I would say in all, he comes to all of our farms about 4 times a year or every 4 months. My apologies. Every 4 months he'll come out, he'll come to select farms and he just kind of assesses the overall health of the pigs. And then we kind of make a decision as to treatment plans based on what we're seeing at all of our farms. As a technician role, it is up to us to actually do our treatments. So we're not having a veterinarian come in and actually, treat every single pig. That is our job. But we do have the advice and the counsel of a veterinarian, and they do come into our barns to make sure that we are fully healthy and everyone is doing good.
And with some of those roles as a technician, do you receive specialized training or anything like that to help prepare you for those activities?
Yeah, so when you first start, we go through the PQA, so the pork quality assurance, and we kind of get a overall briefing of what it's like to work in a pig barn and the safety of working in a pig barn. So you learn overall behaviors, injections, um, safe handling, clinical sick signs, um, just the kind of overall what it takes to be an actual pig farmer.
That is great info. Thank you, Farmer Veronica, for sharing. Um, we had a question from Miss Keener's class, and they would like to know how you identify the pigs on your farm.
So, overall, we don't have a identification for each individual pig. What we do in our specific flow or site, um, we have, let's see if I can find some. So pigs with no ear notches mean that they came from the same farm, whereas, of course, all of these guys are gonna have no ear notches. Um, Other pigs will have a little piece of their ear notched out, and that will indicate, depending on what spot it's in, where they came from. So they've got such floppy ears, it can be so hard to tell sometimes. Let's see. This guy right here at the feeder, it's got a little piece of his ear notched right out on this side. So that means he came from a specific farm based on that location. So that's kind of our main identification of knowing where they came from. And then we have spray paint. So we give them a little bit of color to identify anybody who has been treated or needs to be treated. And then that way we can keep everyone at the farm on the same page as to who has received a medication, who we think might need to be medicated, and that it's also recorded on the like a treatment log. The other way that we kind of tell where we need to go is by pen number. So every single pen in this barn has its own identification, which then kind of translates to the pig's identification. And that's kind of our main way of telling.
Awesome. Thank you, Farmer Veronica. We have another question here that kind of goes along with what we just talked about from Miss Catherine's class. And they would like to know how you separate the pigs in the pens. Are they separated by girl and boy pigs, or how are they separated?
So at our specific farm, they are separated by gilts and barrows. So barrow is a castrated male and gilt is a female who has not given birth yet. So it's referred to kind of our younger female pig. Our system, we have, I mentioned these pen numbers. So boys are in the odd numbers and females, gilts, are in the even. And so they are stocked. Stocking density is another term used in the pig industry. That means how many pigs per pen. And we stock ours at 27 pigs per pen. And so these will all be females, all gilts, and right next to them will all be barrows.
Awesome. Farmer Veronica, earlier when we were talking about the life cycle of the pigs, we really hit hard on, the stages of the life cycle before they come to you at the nursery. Can you talk to us a little bit about what happens with those pigs or where those pigs go when they are ready to leave your site?
Yeah. So these pigs, when they reach about 50 to 60 pounds, will then go to our next site, which is called a finisher. The next kind of stage or step of life, or I like to say they graduate from us and they move on to the finisher, which would kind of be like high school. So then at that point, they'll stay at the finisher until they're about 280 pounds, which is the commercial market weight.
Awesome. Thank you, Farmer Veronica. We have another question here from one of our groups of students, and they would like to know if you can tell us what breed of pigs that you have on your farm.
Yep. So these guys are York and Landers Cross. That is kind of a commercial standard. Some might have a little bit of Duroc in them. We've kind of just started a new transition, and that is also where the industry is headed. So more of the red pigs, which you won't notice any red in here. But the York and Landers is our main breed. It is the most classic pink pig breed.
Awesome. Thank you, Farmer Veronica. Another one of our questions that we had submitted here was if you had any advice for high school students that might be interested in a career in the pig farming industry.
I would say if you think you have an interest, please try to actually find a place where you can get hands-on experience. If you know of a farmer, if you find a farmer online and reach out and ask if you can work a summer there just to get an idea as to what it's like to actually be a pig farmer. You just got to take any opportunity that you can get and actually dive into the experience and see if you like it. And if you don't like it, then you learn something new about yourself. I didn't know until I got a couple pigs and I was like, wait a minute, this is really cool. And I started in high school myself. So I didn't know until I tried. So I suggest just trying. And like I said, if you end up not liking it, you learned it. You learn that about yourself and you can, find your next goal. And if working in the barn isn't for you, then maybe you can find if you're into finance or environment, you can find another opportunity if you like the field in general.
Awesome, Farmer Veronica. Thanks for that advice. And that seems like a good place to leave off on our trip today, as we have very quickly reached the end of our scheduled amount of time for our tour. So if there are any classrooms that need to disconnect at this time, please feel free to do so, and we thank you for joining us. Again, Farmer Veronica, this has been absolutely fantastic, and we thank you for taking some time to connect with us this morning. We certainly appreciate it and really look forward to connecting again sometime soon. As we wrap up, I want to be sure to let all of our teachers know that there will be a post-tour survey open in your browser upon the conclusion of our tour, and you will also receive that in a follow-up email in the next 24 hours. We would greatly appreciate you taking a moment to complete that survey to help us evaluate our trips. Speaking of trips, this is the first one that we have hosted this fall. So Ohio Pork has a few more on our schedule for the fall. So we encourage you to head over to virtualfarmtrips.com to register, or you can check out ohiopork.org/virtual field trip to find that information. Again, on behalf of our Ohio pig farmers, the Ohio Pork Council, Farmer Veronica, and our technical producer, Dan Tolan, we want to thank you for joining us today. We hope you have a safe and happy week, and we hope to see you again on a virtual field trip soon. Have a great day.